All right, guys, welcome back. Back to you, Tomboy Official. Welcome back to the podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Even if it's just a few people. I mean, the Anchor app only shows me what's happening through Anchor, but it sounds like most people are coming through Apple Podcasts. So I welcome you all from whichever direction you made it here. Hopefully we're going to get down to some good information. Today I wanted to talk about substances. Even not so much just like, when people say like drugs, like there's different types of things, right? So it's kind of gonna be an interesting outlook. I think I have a different outlook than a lot of people might. So just to be clear, I'm fully about harm reduction approaches. If people want to experiment with things, I'm all about people educating themselves, talking to providers, doctors, if you have friends or people who kind of are familiar with certain sorts of substances, talking to them about it too. But I'm not here to like judge people. I just think everyone, hopefully when people are using whatever they're using or experimenting with whatever they're experimenting with, they're doing it as legally as possible. They're doing it as safely as possible. They're doing it in as much of a safe and an educated environment as possible. And the reason why I want to talk about substances is because depending what population of people you kind of are, grouped towards, it's kind of a common theme. And I've talked about this with friends a lot, that, it's kind of hard to go out, like, say if you're gay and you have gay friends, or you're queer and you have an LGBTQ plus group of queer friends that you like to kick it with, or you're, non-binary, or you're a trans person and you have, friends that you want to kick it with that might not be cis straight gender people. Sometimes you'll end up at a gay club, a gay bar, or something like that. And usually, those places can be lovely. They're great. They're nice. They're wonderful. But it's kind of hard, too, when you're like, okay, like, what if I want to practice sobriety? Or what if I don't want to be, like, in the presence of, like, drunkenness, or the presence of people showing up on under all kinds of influences of things? The reason why I mention it is because in my life, it's kind of something that comes up. I kind of like coffee shop vibes. I kind of like to chill, catch up, have dinner, just like relax and talk. But then it's like, it's kind of hard to do it when you're in a place where you don't feel comfortable. So your classic restaurant, your classic coffee shop, that kind of place, it's going to be usually a hetero cis gender environment, right? Like, that's more common. There are more hetero coffee shops and restaurants than there are queer owned ones. And so that already makes it complex, because if you do have, say, situations where you need more comfort with restrooms, or you need more comfort with, say when the waiter or waitress, or the person who is, serving you your food, the first thing they say is ma'am or sir, and that, I've had that on planes too, when I was like getting on a plane and I was wearing like a fitted cap, and then like I thought they called my group, so I came up to the front of the line, and then they're like, excuse me, sir, like, go to the back. And I've had people in multiple spaces misgender me as sir, and then I start talking, and then they're like, oh wait, ma'am. It's just like, and it's just awkward. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen at like LGBT spaces, but it's like, I feel like people are more aware of like, oh, let me kind of be a little more understanding. Like, if I mentioned that, oh, you misgendered me, or oh, she, or something like that, they'll just quickly just like, oh, okay, like, yeah, she, and then just like keep going. And like, I feel like it's a little more like, oh, they didn't know, so they're just like getting it right. Almost like when somebody mispronounces your name because they didn't know how to say it, and they're like reading your name and they're like, oh, like, sorry, and they just like say it, and it's kind of like not a big deal. Versus in like cis straight places, you'll see a bunch of times it's like, oh, like, your gender and like all this kind of stuff, and it becomes like this whole gigantic issue. It's like, dude, I just wanted to order the freaking steak. Like, I'm not trying to like talk to you about all this. I don't know you, I mean, I've taken dates to places like even like a Denny's. I was going on this date with this trans lady, and it became this whole entire issue, like how we were in the waiting area, and then when we were like seated, and like when we went to pay, and it's like people were like looking, and like people were coming out of the kitchen to like stare, and like kids were like making more effort to stare, and parents were making more effort to kind of like tell their kids to kind of shut up, or to kind of let their kids behave. And then, it was just this whole thing that it's like, if I felt it, I know they felt it too, and like we went to the mall for part of things, and like we had a good time at the mall, and we're just chatting and talking and like snacking, and they wanted to go look at some makeup, and I was like, I'm not really super into makeup, but I mean, I know zero about it. You probably know way more than I do. And we were gonna go, and then something happened where it was like, now they didn't want to look at the makeup anymore because it was just something uncomfortable that had happened along the way. And then it's just like things like that where you're just like, damn, I can't even like shop. I can't even go out to eat. I can't even like do like a regular kind of thing. And then, there are places to hang out, but then like when it's only a club or bar, or multiple clubs or multiple bars, it's like, it's a different kind of environment too, because then sometimes you might feel a little obligated to like use substances or try substances or have a beer or have a drink, or spend your money if you weren't trying to spend your money on alcohol or whatever, or now I have to take an Uber because I was drinking, and like all this kind of stuff. It's like it can really get in the way of your finances if you weren't trying to drink or anything. I mean, just the experiences that happen sometimes when you're like maybe not fully accosted, but there's a certain time of night where it's like things kind of turn up, and that doesn't happen at like your typical coffee shop that by midnight everybody's like belligerent or like a little more loose than they would be, and just kind of like acting differently. I mean, one thing that I do like about substances in general, depending which ones, but I feel like it does kind of open up the environment a little bit when people are kind of a little bit, maybe had a beer, or maybe smoked a joint or something like that. Like, I feel like people do kind of unwind a little bit, and it kind of opens room for some space to have some conversations with some people you might not know, and you're a little less nervous about it, about approaching people, about people approaching you. So I like that part, but it's also kind of like, like say you want to meet people in person and you don't want to meet people online, and then it's like, do I really want to like have to be drunk every time I want to meet somebody? And then like, you might like schedule dates and stuff, and it's like, is this even for real? Like, were we just doing this because we were drinking? And then you like meet them and you're like, oh my God, I didn't know, like, I don't even remember what they said to me or what I said to them, or like why we even liked each other. Like are we gonna like each other when we're not drunk and there's not this whole turn up, and now we're at dinner at this like straight cis restaurant and it's awkward and weird, but at the gay club it was fun. It's like, it can just be this whole complicated thing to try to navigate, honestly. And in addition, there's also that a lot of, people who are either gender queer or like with their sexuality, they are, it's not uncommon for people to have substance use issues of some sort, or at least resort to drinking or cannabis or things like that. And I'm not judging it. I mean, I do it too. I'm not saying I don't. I'm just saying, like, it's not uncommon to just go to that kind of stuff because it's there. And a lot of people have, like, maybe, like, stressors that they're dealing with and just need to unwind and just want to, like, get through their day. And, if you're constantly having to think about all this stuff, like what I wear, where I go, who I talk to, where I go, what did they mean by that? What did that situation, sometimes I just go through life sometimes and I'm just, like, oblivious to things. And then every now and then things will kind of even catch me, like, later, like a week later, a couple days later, I'll be like, that was awkward that person mentioned that. And that was a little weird and uncomfortable. Like, I may have talked about it recently. Like, I was, I have, some friends I share more things with than others. I'm kind of more open to talk about my life, dating life, things like that. Just because they ask me about it and we catch up about it too. It's not like it wouldn't be out of the norm to, like, hey, how's this going? Are you dating somebody? How's this person how's the date you went on and stuff? Like, we update each other about that kind of stuff. Talk about relationships a lot. Some people I don't talk about relationships with them, and I have some ally friends that I talk about relationships with, and some I don't. I have some LGBT friends that I talk about relationships with, and others I kind of just don't. And it's not really that I don't trust them or that I don't want them to know. It's just we just don't talk about that kind of stuff too much. And one thing that I think kind of contributes too is, like, it depends on your own personality style, your own, like, style of kind of talking to people. Like, people who know me really well know that if you want to talk to me, the best way to do it is either alone, individually, with just you and me, or in a small group of people, very small, like 2 or 3 of us, catching up over dinner or coffee or, at the beach or out on a walk, or, like, something just kind of, like, chill. The least likely way I'm going to try to catch up with a person is going to be with a group on a dance floor, at a club, or at a bar when I'm, like, screaming over the music. It's like, sometimes you want to just, like, talk about certain stuff, and I'm like, I'm not trying to have every table in here, like, overhearing what I'm trying to say. And so sometimes it's just kind of hard, right? So if you think about, if it's someone like me who's more shy, a little bit more on the reserved side, a little bit less, likely to kind of, like, be, like, very, very assertive about things. I'm not going to be too comfortable in a place where it's like there's a whole turn up environment. And so it's kind of like, it also leads to having these kind of, like, not superficial relationships, but kind of more like, sometimes you go out and you have a lot on your mind that you can't even really talk to your friends about it because it's like, oh, I'm not really comfortable in this setting talking about this kind of stuff here. And then, like, I don't want to go to some, like, Marie Callender's, like, straight sit down restaurant kind of place and start talking about, like, all these, like, gay things too. So it's kind of like, it's kind of just complicated, like, sometimes the environment helps, but sorry, it's, the drill, guys. I'm in the car, it gets hot. I got a cold smoothie with me today too. But yeah, sometimes it's just a lot, It's a lot to be, like, trying to navigate, like, even, like, a wholesome, quality time that you spend with your friends. It's like, sometimes I don't really feel like it's a wholesome quality kind of hangout when it's like all we did was, like, it was like, okay, I'm babysitting somebody again, or all we did was, like, get drunk, and then, like, I can't even half remember, like, what we did, and it's like, then I gotta start work on Monday, and that's the end of my weekend, and it's like, okay, like, that was fun, but, I would have liked to catch up about something, or, like, talk about some stuff, so, like, I was gonna give an example of some, like, weird, awkward thing that happened that it's something that kind of, it's not like a huge deal, so I don't really mind. But so speaking of environments, so I was talking with somebody recently about dating. Not about dating them, but I was like, it's one of my friends that I catch up with a lot about like dating situations. So this person is pretty involved with like if I've gone on dates, if I haven't gone on dates, if I've been like whatever, you know. I respect people's privacy. I'm not like a big like, and I'm gonna kiss and tell everybody all the details of everything. Like, I'm not really like that. I mean, there are people that I'm like totally comfortable just being like, I will tell you whatever, but it's not like in a bragging way. It's just kind of more like we have a close connection and I trust them. But also, like, if I'm with somebody, I'm not gonna be like telling other people about all the details about that, you know. But I have this you know, recent situation where I was kind of catching up with a friend of mine, who we're pretty close. We talk about dating a lot. When we first met, we weren't really, I mean, we were friends, but they were I don't even want to get into that too much, but they were totally giving mixed messages, but whatever. It can be a little complicated. Females with their friendships, female friendships can be very confusing at times. I'm not really into everybody, and this person isn't really even my type, but as far as like how they are, like their personality, the level of trust I have with them, just kind of the longevity of like kind of how long we've known each other, and we've spent a lot of like quality time together in a way that we know each other pretty good. This person is not in a single they're not single. I was gonna say they're not in a single relationship. They're not single right now. And they're in something that seems pretty solid and serious, and I'm totally happy for them. And I was recently talking to them about kind of like dating experiences, somebody I've been like kind of like interested in, but it's also kind of one of those like great for now, fun for now, let's see what happens. It's not like super like we're going to be talking about like how permanent are we going to make things, because we already started things out with the notion that we're probably not going to be too like I don't know, like we're not just only seeing each other. It's not really like, I wouldn't say it's not serious, but we're not like, we're casually seeing each other in a serious way, if that makes sense. Like we're taking it seriously, but we're not like you're mine, you can't date anybody, like you know, like I don't really do that, and this other person doesn't really do that either, so it's fine. And I've described kind of up to that point with this other friend of mine kind of like how that situation is for me, and like just little things that are kind of hard for me. With not necessarily with that, even that the poly stuff is like easy, but I think the other stuff, with like, you know, like careers and, you know, finances and work, and like just the different kind of aspects of just like general stuff in life, like it's kind of hard to tell like what's gonna happen. It's it's just a little bit involved, right? So I've talked to this friend of mine, the one who's not single, like twice or two times that I really remember. You know, we've gone out and talked, just me and this person, with some specifically detailed updates about this person. And then we met up kind of recently, and they asked me again about this person. But this time we were like with other people, with a bunch of other people. A lot of them were like queer friends of mine, and then the others were like kind of straight friends of mine that are like allies, straight friends of mine. So, I mean, the ally straight friends, most of those friends tend to be men, straight cis men. And I talk to them about dating women all the time. Like, they don't really seem to really bat an eye to it. They're not really too intrusive about it. This other friend tends to have a bit of an intrusive attitude, and I get it. We're at a party, we're drinking, we're having fun, so it's like sometimes people don't really watch how they say things, and sometimes I don't either. So it's like the situation happens where this friend of mine, who should potentially know everything, starts asking others, how's your dating life and all that. Because our end of the table, me and my cisgender straight friends were the only ones who weren't really with anybody. Like, I was with other friends who were with their significant others, or were in dating relationships at that time. So other than this person who's in a relationship dating somebody, the rest of us are kind of like, we tend to joke and we say we get these situationships. We get in situationships. And so, this friend first asked, like, how are you guys doing with your dating? And it's always like the same thing with all of us, right? But then it was like a little bit awkward because, like, we're at a table full of people. These dude friends of mine, these guys don't usually talk to all these people. I don't know how comfortable they are in a group full of all my gay friends talking about their straight lives. It's like, I don't understand it, but I kind of got the vibe they weren't really interested to talk about it. So I left it alone, and I tried to say, like, positive things, like when they did comment anything, I was like, oh, that's cool, I'm glad for you, like, I'm glad things are going that way, like, whatever, just left it alone, right? Because, like, when somebody kind of gives, like, a one-word kind of answer, and the table gets, like, really quiet, and somebody's just, like, gives you, like, a one-word answer, it's kind of like, okay, in the conversation, like, you can kind of tell, okay, maybe this isn't the best timing for this. Maybe they want to keep it private. Maybe they don't want to, like, be sharing this with, like, everybody, at the table or whatever, And then she starts, like, asking me. My friend's like, oh, so what's going on with you? Has anything changed? I'm like, no. Things are kind of the same. I've kind of caught you up to speed on, like, what's been going on lately. You're kind of, like, updated. And then my friend says, oh, well, I can't remember what you said, so can you just, like, you're gonna have to explain it again. And I was just like, okay, like, in my head I was thinking this, well, now I know you're just trying to put me on the spot because you're making this awkward now, because now everybody at the whole freaking table is already listening because we're over, like, dish about relationships thing, and those people are all not single, and so why would they, they want to hear the rest of us talk about it. And so I was like, no, I'm not gonna repeat it. I'm not gonna repeat it. I just told you, like, literally, we've gone out, like, a couple times recently, and we've talked about this before. So no, I'm not gonna, like, tell you all this while everybody else is overhearing all this. And, in my head, I was just kind of like, if you can't remember, then too bad. And, it's kind of like, and also it's kind of like, I know you're just trying, like, I don't know, sometimes people just, like, try to kind of tease you or try to make you a little bit uncomfortable. And sometimes I do that with my friends too. I'll tease them a little bit. Like, I was doing that with one of my friends, and, like, I just can't help myself sometimes. I'm just like it's kind of like, he's fun to be around. I like being around him, and, like, I was just kind of like, I don't know. I don't tease people to a point where it's, like, hurting their feelings, but I don't remember what I was saying, but I was like, it got to a point where I was just like, I mentioned, like, oh, like, we've never, like, gone out to dinner to eat before or something, and then they're like, oh, am I, like, messy, or, like, I know, like, I'm not usually like this guy. And I was like, I wasn't implying, like, anything about it. Like, I wasn't trying to, like, make a judgment about anything about you. I was just mentioning that as often as we hang out, I don't think we've ever been out to dinner. Like, that was kind of my comment. And then I kind of realized, oh, maybe I'm kind of, like, doing a little bit too much teasing here, if they just, like, assume I'm trying to, like, get under their skin. But I don't know, just stuff like that, where it's like, okay, if you're at it, like, I'm in that situation, it was like, I was with the majority. We're at, like, a gay bar kind of setting with, like, a restaurant there, and we're in a gay space with gay waiters and gay cashiers and gay bartenders and all my gay friends, and I invite my straight ally friends to hang out with me and my gay friends. So it's like, that was like fun. It was great. It was good. But I mean, if I were to flip that situation and take it, and like, I had one Corona, my friend had one, I think, a type of margarita, I think a couple margaritas that night, but I don't know at that point if they'd only had one or two at that point of the conversation. And then other friends were drinking too. It's fine, like, we all drink. It's just how we do things sometimes. So I think almost everybody except the one person who doesn't really drink was drinking. And then maybe one person was like maybe one person was like a DD, because some people carpooled, so I don't really know the full situation, but that's kind of the vibe I got. But I mean, I really love my friends. I love them all. The straight allies, the gay friends, the coupled ones, the single ones. I love all my friends. I love drinking with my friends. I love smoking weed with my friends. I love being stoned with my friends. I love it. I love it all. But I mean, it's just hard to have, you know, like, when you have like different goals in your life, maybe that don't really match the options of your comfort zones, or the options you have available, and then the comfort zones that you would prefer. Because that's kind of what I experienced. I don't know if other people experience this, but I'm just bringing it up in case it's like a thing other people are like getting a little like, you know, having a hard time navigating. Because, like, you know, sometimes I'll date people that are like, I mean, it's not too common that I see this, but I date like people that are, you know, LGBT people that are sober. And then I'm like, well, it's really hard for me to date people that are completely sober, that don't hang out in spaces where there's alcohol, because then it's like we're hanging out in like straight bars all the time. And I hate straight bars. I hate them. Like, it's just, I just hate them all. Like, I run into all kinds of weird situations, from like the bathroom, and like people staring in the bathroom, or people, you know, I don't know what they're doing. Like, I'm just here to pee. Like, I don't really know like what is happening here. People trying to like alert me that I'm going to the wrong one, or like I'm going in there, and then people are looking like, oh, like, you look like that and you're in this one, and it's like, yeah, well, I can't go in the other one. And, you know, just things like that, where it's just like, all right, like, can I just pee and just leave? Like, do we have to make this like the most awkward possible situation for everybody? So there's that. There's the I'm trying to think of some situations that have come up in like straight places. Like, I mean, there's definitely, I get this a lot. I mean, I don't know, because I'm not a flirty person. I'm not. Like, I'm sweet, and I'm kind, and I'm shy, and I think maybe people might think sometimes that comes across as flirting, or like just because I'm giving them attention or something. But sometimes, you know, if I have a couple drinks, I like to just chat, you know, and I am kind of like accustomed and used to the straight clubs, the straight bars, the gay clubs, the gay bars, where you go in. And, you know, it's not uncommon for me at a gay club, at a women's bathroom line, to be talking to every freaking person, you know, that you're nearby, that's within an earshot distance. Like, it's a very social environment. We're here, we're queer, we're all just gonna freaking talk to each other. Like, it doesn't matter. There's not like those boundaries of like, oh, like, I'm not gonna talk to you because you seem like you might be gay. It's like, I'm gonna talk to you because you seem like you might be gay. It's like, I've had people like comment on like what I'm wearing, or like ask me about like what kind of products I use on my skin, or like all kinds of like weird, you know, I've had like full on like deep conversations in the bathroom line with queer people of all types. Straight bathrooms, I don't talk to them because I'm like, dude, this is weird. But sometimes I kind of forget myself, and maybe if I have a drink or two, I'll be like, oh, like, let me socialize. We're in this long ass line. Like, why don't I just talk to the person next to me? And something I get pretty often is they're like, I'm straight, or they're like, I have a boyfriend. And I'm like, okay, like, I'm just trying to kill time in the line. Like, I don't really care like who you're fucking, or like who you're with, or whatever. It's like, I'm just having a conversation. Like, I'm not hitting on you. Like, I'm not asking for people's numbers. I'm not complimenting their dresses or their hair or their anything or their makeup I'm not complimenting people's appearance. I don't do that to people I don't know. I don't compliment things. I think about these things because I'm like, this might make somebody uncomfortable, especially if they know, hey, you're not a straight person and you're talking to a straight person. I'm very kind of like sensitive towards straight women because they're very like assuming people are trying to hit on them. And it's like, most straight women, the majority of them are not my type. The majority of them are not. The majority of them are very femme women. That, I mean, I'm not against femme women, but just at first glance, I'm usually not like super into them. It just doesn't appeal to me so much until I know a person. Like, if I know a person, I've dated plenty of cis women that are femme, and that's fine. But I would say, because I don't always go off like initial attraction, and I wouldn't say I don't find them attractive. It's just, you know, I'm probably not going to sit there gawking at like a Barbie looking type of person. Like, it's just not really my thing. Like, just naturally, my interest doesn't like just naturally peak there. But I mean, once I know a person's personality and kind of get to know them better, then it's like I can totally be into them regardless of how they actually look. That's not going to factor in too much. So full circle all the way back around. Substances, like when it comes to, you know, LGBT type spaces, if you're trying to get out of the cisgender spaces, if you're trying to get into more gender queer type spaces, even if you're not, you know, gay or lesbian or bisexual, or, you know, queer as in like your sexuality, or asexual or anything with your sexuality, and even if it's just your gender, you're like if you're gender queer or non-binary or trans, you know, or, you know, something along those lines gender wise, you're likely gonna come across a lot of people who are lesbian, gay, bisexual, asexual types of people. That's just, you know, likely because we share a lot of common spaces. So I'm not here to really say that, like, okay, just because you're in a gay bar, you're gay, or, you know, I use a lot of words interchangeably. You probably notice, you know, when I say gay, when I say queer, when I say LGBT, to me it's just kind of like, I know that those terms are very specific, but then I also use them as like blanket terms in a way, just because it's like I'm talking and saying the same thing over and over again. So it's hard for me to just be like LGBTQIA, you know, like, and just kind of like saying that all the time. But that's usually what I mean when I say gay or queer, is like more of an inclusive term. I mean, queer can be like gender queer. I think on my, I don't know what I have on my dating app, but I think on my dating app, if I don't still have it that way, I think I did put queer on there. And I don't know, it's changed since I originally had the app, but I think I did put queer on there. And I remember going on a date with like this trans dude, and he was like, so are you, when you say queer, are you like gender queer? Like what? Like, and I was like, I'll just describe what I meant. But yeah, I mean, it's just interesting, you know, if you're trying to be sober, or if you're dating somebody who's sober, it's like, where are you supposed to hang out? You know, do places really exist that you can hang out, that are safe spaces? And I also, you know, think about, you know, harm reduction approaches as well, because a lot of times, I was talking to a friend of mine about this, who I was talking on the phone to the other day, and me and her were just kind of laughing about stuff, because I send her all these like texts and messages and videos of like things that I do on the weekends or whatever, and she's like, I haven't had any messages from you lately, and I know you've been out doing some stuff, like, yeah, like, catch me up, you know? And like, so, you know, I usually just do like little clips of like the DJs or whatever. It's not like any like major thing. I hardly take videos or pictures of like friends or myself. I just usually just or usually my pictures are going to be like food, if it's like a cool like environment or light show, or like something that's kind of cool visually to look at, or like to hear, or to see, kind of see and hear, but not really like, I don't really like including who was there with me, or like who I was there with, or myself. It's like, just out of respect for people, because like not everybody wants everybody knowing where they're at. I don't want everybody knowing where I'm at. It's just kind of how I am. I'm trying to find a solution to this, because it's like, it's pretty challenging, and it's not even like a huge deal in my life. It's like, I'm pretty established with things. I feel safe around my friends, I feel like they've got my back. I feel like none of my friends have ever like introduced me to somebody, or tried to like introduce me to some situation where they thought it wouldn't be good for me or something. Like, I feel like my friends kind of understand me. Let's see. So I have to answer this message. Yeah. So, and I know some people, maybe they don't have that, or they don't like have the comfort, or like they're still trying to figure out where to find spaces. Meetups can be cool, because meetups have, different people, if you join like queer sports and stuff, leagues and stuff like that, even if it's casual pickup games, that's cool too, because at least you're meeting people, you're doing more than just like drinking. It's something kind of healthy, or you're doing like activities, hiking, dog walking, different kinds of things. And but it can be hard, because a lot of people who are LGBT have a lot of stressors. And then, when we want to hang out, it's like we kind of try to relieve all that stress by like doing things that may not be like the healthiest of choices. Sometimes, it's kind of easy to do and go overboard. And all I can really say to people who are interested in different substances, educate yourself first. Don't just take something. I mean, I don't really know what I think about gateway drugs. I really don't know what I think about that. But I can say, when you're under the influence, it's easier to take something that you weren't planning to take, or that you don't know anything about, just because you're already open-minded to a lot of things. Like, for example, I was at a club once, drinking some whiskey, having some fun. Well, it was a bar, and then there was like a club in the back, so like there was a dance floor in the back, DJ. I was having a good time, met some people who were kind of friendly that started talking to me, so I'm like, okay, like I'm in a good mood, the music's good, and like we were just kind of talking. This dude's like asking me about his friend, do I think his friend is cute or whatever, and I was like, I didn't really say anything, and they're like, oh, you're kind of shy, and I'm like, yeah. And then he was like, oh, this is her girlfriend. And I'm like, yeah, that's why I didn't really answer, because I don't really know her. And this is uncomfortable and weird. And like, but like, I just left it. And then I was like, well, I'm glad I didn't say anything, because she has a girlfriend that's standing like right there. And then, he was talking about how he was taking like a certain type of stimulant I'm not going to mention. And then he was like, oh, like, do you want to try some? And then I think I said yes, but then like he couldn't find it, or one of his friends maybe took it away or something. And so I was kind of like, okay, like in my head I was like, all right, like I didn't need to be trying to take something that I don't know. These people, I literally just met them, and it could have been freaking anything. I mean, what they said it was, I'm not going to repeat, but the thing that they said it was, it could have been meth, it could have been like anything, but they didn't, I mean, you don't know if you can like just trust random strangers, right? So yeah, stuff like that, where it's like, if they had it then at that time, I might have actually tried it, honestly, because my mind was just like, I'm kind of in it to win it. I'm kind of down for whatever. Like, I wasn't really too much thinking into like what was really happening. But yeah, so I was enjoying myself. I was having my beverage. My friend was hungry. I remember this. My friend was hungry, and I was like hanging out with those guys on the dance floor in the back. My friend was up front and wanted me to leave with her to go outside of the club to go like talk to some other people, or no, to go eat, because she was hungry. And I think we had dinner like before that, and then she was getting there like super late. And I was just like, dude, I'm talking to somebody right now. Like, I'm not trying to like go out and like have dinner with you. Like, I kind of want to like meet people and like, like, this is the person that I was like was kind of leading things on. It's like, you really want to take me out of like a gay club, gay bar to go to some like straight restaurant with you, and like, like, you're not even like into me, so like why would I, like, no. But that was kind of my decision making. But that's kind of how my brain thinks. It's like, I get a little bit social. I'm not trying to really like go do anything, really. I'm not like too out of control, but it's like I really do get a little bit more social. And for someone like me that's a little bit on the shy side, it can be a little hard to meet people, even though I like socializing and interacting. And I'm not bad at it. It takes me a while to like warm up to people. And so it kind of depends how somebody kind of presents themselves to me. Like, if they kind of come up to me and they're a little bit on the rough side or the sarcastic side, to me that already turns me away. I'm already like not interested in really talking to them. But if somebody comes up and they're like more like on the genuine side, I feel a little bit more comfortable with them, and I'll usually kind of engage in conversation. So usually that's just how I am. That's how I roll. But yeah, if you guys are going to use substances, learn about them, harm reduction, learn about what's legal and what's not legal. That's the first place to start. What's legal for your age, what's not legal for your age, what's considered prescription of your own personal prescriptions from your own providers, what's prescription from somebody else's doctor that's not from your doctor, but you're getting it from someone who got it from a doctor. What's considered illicit, illegal substances? What's going to get you in jail? What does it look like if you get caught with this? How much of it can you even legally have on you or in you? Which is another issue, right? I mean, if you're under the influence of some things, or if you have some certain things on you, if you have friends who are aware or familiar with things, or if you're, it's good to just tell somebody. Because, like, I mean, I'm not saying don't get medical treatment, but it's like, okay, say, for example, if you saw the episode, take it way back, guys, way back. This is like before, I think it's before season 4 or so of Queer as Folk. The series, do you guys remember the Queer as Folk series? With those, is basically about gay men and then a couple lesbians. And so if you remember the Queer as Folk series, one of the seasons had, one of the gay guys who's like one of the main characters. He met somebody, spoiler alert. So he met somebody at the club, went home with him. The guy seemed genuine and well-meaning and seemed like really into him. And he goes and, they start like about to hook up, and then the guy's like, you want to try this, whatever it was, sort of substance that he gave him. And the guy himself, I guess he tried it too, because he's like, yeah, it makes sex better or whatever. And then the guy who was like one of the actual characters in the show was like, one of the main characters was like, oh yeah, like I didn't want to seem like I wasn't cool, like some old not cool guy with this cool like hot young guy. Like, he wanted to feel like cool, and he didn't want the guy making fun of him. So with the pressure, like, the guy wasn't pressuring him, but he felt pressured to take it, and he didn't know anything about this, and he just puts some in his water and drinks like a whole bunch of it. And the guy's like, whoa, slow down. And then he ends up, the character, one of the main character guy, one of the main characters, he ends up having this type of like seizure or something. And then the other guy was like, oh shoot, like this isn't like good. So he said that so I guess he, like, what you see at that moment is the guy running out of, like, his guest running out of the apartment while the main guy's like seizing on the floor. And then, but it turns out, you know, the guy ends up in the hospital. He's in a coma for a while, but then it turns out the guy, you know, went and called the police, called the ambulance, waited on the corner to make sure somebody came. 'Cause it's like, you can't be there in the environment when you have the substances on you, because, you know, you might get in trouble. So it's kind of like there is a hesitation for people to really contact support if you're under the influence of something and they know that you're under the influence, or if you got it from them. You know, it's kind of like this whole thing where it's like you want to make sure you're making decisions where you're not at risk, you know. And what helps me really is make the decision before you go out. Set your intentions with things before you go out. Don't just like get off work and just be like, I'm gonna go party my ass off and call an Uber and go get drunk, and I'll get stoned before I do that, and go out and get drunk and then like just wing it. It's like, it helps to just be like, okay, I'm only gonna have this many drinks, or I'm only gonna spend this much money, or I'm gonna take an Uber and I'm gonna leave at this time, or I'm only gonna take this edible with like a whiskey, or I'm only gonna take this with that, or whatever, like, or only gonna take this first, or only this tonight, or whatever that looks like for you. Having that boundary clear, because it's important. It's important because once you're under the influence already, it's hard to make those decisions. Just like I said, like, I started out at a restaurant, ended up at a bar that there was a club in the back, and next thing I know, like, I could have been in a situation where I took some weird thing and some weird thing happened to me, because I did leave my friends, and like the one friend who wanted to go have dinner, that would have been a safer, calmer solution. But I didn't want to go do straight, boring things. I wanted to do fun, gay things. So I just did that instead. And I could have easily ended up at somebody's house, or ended up in somebody's car, or on the road, or who knows what they were offering me, or if they had good intentions or not. But in my mind, I was like, yeah, these people are trustworthy because they're friendly and I like them and they're nice, and they started talking to me. I didn't start talking to them. So like, they seemed like interesting, and like, you know, we were gonna, you know how it is when you plan when you're drunk, and we're like, yeah, we're gonna meet at the beach tomorrow if you want to go. And like, I was all like, you know, we're gonna have drinks at the beach and all, and I'm just like, yeah, I was like down for the beach and like all this stuff. And I'm just like, I don't know these people, they don't know me. I didn't even introduce my friends to them, so my friends wouldn't have known what they looked like. And that's not even a big deal. I'm not even talking about something that's like a big deal. So and in addition to setting your intentions, you know, it's good to kind of alert people where you're at. I mean, people know I live with people. If my car is gone and I seem like I'm gone for like 2-3 days, or if nobody sees or hears from me for like 2, 3, 4, 5 days, that's rare. That's odd. 'Cause, you know, I walk around with my shoes on, because our floor is a little dirty, and I'm like, I don't like walking in my bare feet or socks, so I just wear my shoes, and when I'm in my room, I take my shoes off. But outside my room, I wear my shoes, so people can hear me. I pretty much have the same work schedule every day. People know when I'm up, when I'm asleep, when I'm awake, you know, kind of what my schedule is like. And so if they don't hear me or see me around, and then my door's locked, meaning I'm gone, and then, you know, they haven't seen me at all, or especially if my car's been gone for days, after a couple 2-3 days, usually one of my roommates will be like, hey, like, what's up, or like send me a message, or like whatever. Like, even if they don't really need anything, they'll just be like, what's up, you know. But because I don't really tell people when I leave either sometimes, but I figure, you know, they'll figure it out, and they usually will contact me. So usually I try to tell people when I'm out of town a little bit. I just sometimes don't want people in my business too. I kind of like my privacy on things, because I'm a little, like, I don't not trust them, but it's like, it does give people an opportunity if they wanted to go in my room and go through my stuff, and they don't know that I'm not home, or they don't know that I'm like gonna be out for a certain amount of days, or like whatever. Like, not this house where I live in, but I've had another house where I lived, an apartment where I'm pretty sure when I was out of town, they had somebody staying over in my bedroom. Things that tipped me off: the long blonde hair on my pillow, the bag with a couple pieces of little trash placed by my bed. Somebody left my toothbrush cap off and there were like different strands of hair in my comb. Things like that, where I was like, somebody's been touching my shit, you know? But it also wasn't to a level that it was like they destroyed anything. It was just, there was a presence of somebody who had been there. But I mean, I'm saying all that to say, if you're gonna go out, you know, you want people to kind of know who you're with, what you're doing, where you're going, you know. You don't have to alert everybody, but if you are pretty isolated, you know, somebody should at least, you know, have an eye on things for you if you live by yourself or whatever, you know, because like, you know, you don't have to tell people exactly where you're going, but it's like, it can help to have plans the next day, or like, oh, I'm going out tonight, I'll catch you up about my night tomorrow, like, let's talk on the phone, or let's like chat or whatever, like, you know. And then like, if your friend like never hears from you, or if you never hear from each other, you know, it's like, they might be like, oh, I thought we were going to talk at noon, like, what happened? Are you hungover? Are you still asleep? You know, you might get someone messaging you, and then they'll kind of know like, oh shoot, this isn't like you to not respond to me for like 4 or 5 days, you know, like, that's not normal. So I don't really know, dude. It's like, it's a complex thing in this life, but yeah, stay educated about things. Know kind of what's okay for your area. If you travel, I mean, I don't travel that much, but I mean, people who know me, you know, I'm pretty much like really huge fan of cannabis. So like, and it's not legal everywhere. So when I travel, it's like there's certain places where I'm like, I don't think it's a good idea to bring this or bring that, or, you know, like, I don't want to get it confiscated. And especially like, you know, I'm in California. So when I leave from California, all of the cannabis related things have like the California symbol on it. Like, it says where it's from. And if I go to like Vegas, it's going to say where it's from. So people can kind of track where you're buying what from. So it's like, I feel like it's like, do I really need to get like involved with airport security when I can just go somewhere and buy it when I get there? You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't need to be so complicated. But man, oh man, oh man. I kind of feel a little, you know, conflicted about, you know, talking about substances. It's a very touchy topic. I mean, people know that I work kind of in like healthcare-ish type of field, mental health. But also I'm not in a place to tell people what to do, what not to do. I'm not a supervisor. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a doctor. I can't give medical advice. I can't give psychiatric advice or recommendations or diagnoses or anything. Like, I can't do any of that kind of stuff without like a treatment team and like a supervisor, a clinical supervisor, and all this kind of stuff. Like, there's rules behind it. But I'm talking more from my own personal experience. I mean, I do have educational background and stuff too, and I do work with a lot of different types of people from all different walks of life. But, you know, I think substances are a tricky thing. You got to keep it safe. I mean, everybody kind of makes mistakes, I think. Everybody goes a little bit too far sometimes. You know, everybody has like some embarrassing situation where they're like, oh my God, I wish I didn't do that. I wish I didn't say that. I wish I didn't do that thing that I did that was stupid, you know, that I wouldn't have done if I was sober. You know, like, everybody kind of has that kind of thing. But I'm not condemning it. I don't condone it, but I'm not condemning it. But I just feel like I want people to be safe, because I do hang out in a lot of LGBT spaces, and I do see how substance use is different in those environments than it is in straight environments. And especially if you it's one thing when you're in the gay bar, when you're in the gay club, the club's open till 4 a.m., the club's open till 5 a.m., it's a holiday, we're going out and it's a holiday and we're like losing our minds and we're gonna get drunk off our asses or whatever, and then you leave that safe space, you're no longer in the gay world, you're now in the straight cis world again. And if you're so under the influence, sometimes that can get in the way too, because it's like, now I'm under the influence, now I'm too overly drunk or overly, whatever it may be, and that can open up space for, depending how you dress or how you present or how, there's jerks out there and idiots and predators out there everywhere. So some people, if you think about it, if the clubs are all getting out at the same time, other people have been drinking too. And if they're letting loose and their mind is kind of like in a space that's like a little belligerent or whatever, and then they decide to, do something against you, and you're not really in a space where you can really fend for yourself because you're like under the influence too. It's stuff like that where I think like, you never want to be too far gone that you can't really leave, that you can't, if you need like a backup emergency thing, that you can't like focus and plan how to get home, how to get somewhere safe, how to call authorities if you need support, how to video record something or audio record something if you see something going down or someone's harassing you in a way where it's like maybe not like a violent harassing, but you're like, I need to get this recorded so that I have proof if I have to take this to court. Like, you just want to be able to be in right enough mind to be able to kind of like be aware of danger, be aware of like, okay, this person's lurking behind me when I'm walking to, the Uber meetup spot, or this person like seems like a little suspicious, or like this person's like, like it might be some like cisgender straight person that's trying to like create some kind of hate crime or like some prejudice situation against you. And like, if you're totally blitzed, I mean, you're not gonna really know how to really handle that. And they might be under the influence of all kinds of things too that makes it so that they're more likely to be hateful, and then you might be under the influence of things that makes it so more likely that you're not able to kind of get help or get to a safer spot. So it's like, just keep that stuff in mind. But you can still have fun, you can still go out and have a good time. You don't have to be under the influence to have a good time. But it's hard to navigate these spaces, and that's why I wanted to record something on it, because it's not like an easy thing for a lot of people to understand. Or sometimes people go out and they're like, why is it so hard for me when I go out, and like, what are these weird dynamics that are coming up and these weird cycles I'm in? It's like, sometimes it can be because of substances, and in the environments where we hang out, if we can't get into a sober environment, I mean, it's kind of hard to like hang out when you're always drunk. So it's kind of like, that's part of the, at least where I live in this city, it's a very common kind of dynamic, because we don't have a lot of gay spaces where we can hang out and not be expected to drink. There are places where I go where even like the bartender might kind of comment about like, oh, you're not drinking, or like, things like that, where it's like, and I feel like even that little bit of pressure, that's like no big deal. But it's like, there might be places where the bartenders are a little bit flirty, and they're just kind of like, oh, like, I'll pour you a shot, or here's a free shot, or like whatever, like they might get a little, and I think they probably like maybe when the liquor's flowing a little bit too, because then people buy more stuff. I mean, you're usually not going to go out for just a drink if there's going to be good food there. You're probably going to drink and eat something, in all honesty. So I don't really know, but, yeah, guys, I hope that's good. I hope that was helpful. I hope it's helpful information. I hope you guys like this recording. I hope you find it valuable. And if you don't find it valuable now, it might be valuable later. I'm not telling everybody go out and do drugs. I'm just saying, if you're going to do it, be careful, because it can lead to a lot of situations that cannot be reversed. So you don't really want to get in any kind of situation where you're either addicted to something, or some situation happened that was like either you get a DUI or someone else that's your friend gets a DUI, or you get arrested, or you get some fines, or you get a citation of some sort, or you get harassed, or you get it's not your fault if you get harassed, by the way. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying if you're under the influence to a point where you're so far gone, if someone does decide to harass you, it might be hard to get out of that situation or to do something that you would have done. Like you may end up regretting maybe your reaction to it or how you reacted to it. Like, harassment is the fault of the person who's doing the harassing, always. But this is just my belief. I do think that it, when you're of a minority group, and I mean, I think if you've watched The L Word, Bet said it the best, that, the rules are different for us, I mean, she was saying it to her daughter, who's a black daughter, or maybe she's mixed. I can't remember if she's mixed black and white or if she's black. But she appears black, like she doesn't really appear mixed. She's gay, she has gay parents. So yeah, the rules are different, spoiler alert, yeah, the kid, she punched somebody for making a prejudice comment about her queer status at the school. She punched some girl, and then the girl that she punched didn't get in trouble for making the comment, but she got in trouble for punching the girl. And so it's like, she's like, I don't understand, nothing's gonna happen to her. It's like, no, the rules are different. They're different. It's like, there's privilege out there that we will talk about too, but there's privilege out there that some people of certain groups can get away with a lot more. And when you're of a minority group, whether that's you're queer or whatever it may be, if you're of a minority group, if you get harassed, oftentimes, a lot of times, people are going to try to blame you for it, which sucks. And I'm not one of those people that thinks that way, but that's kind of the reality of things, is people are going to say things like, oh, well, they were drunk, so they must have been doing something that led this other person to do this thing. Or, I understand it was a guy and he was wearing makeup and glitter, and so these other drunken, straight frat boy dudes, like, didn't understand, and they got offended because they were drinking too, and, so they decided that they wanted to, like, harass this guy because he looked like a sissy or something. And it's kind of like all this kind of stuff that's just like, that's the kind of shit that we have to deal with, honestly. That they'll get maybe a slap out on the wrist at most, and then we'll get stuck to pick up the pieces and leave us thinking like, what the fuck went wrong? Like, where did we go wrong? I shouldn't have done that. That was bad on my part. When it's like, no, this person had no control of themselves, or they were thinking they were in full control and harassing you. It's not your fault. But that's why I just mentioned, being careful, because you never really know what somebody's going to try to throw back at you just because you're a minority. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And yeah, if the roles are reversed, you'll see that it's not equal on all sides. If a gay person harasses a straight person, that's different than a straight person harassing a gay person. Like, the rules aren't, on paper, it seems the same. In reality, in our life, when it happens, the results do not come out the same. It's not handled the same. People make different excuses for different people and different reasons and different ways. You see this all the time with domestic violence, or with like if a female gets hit by a male versus if a male gets hit by his female partner. You see it gets handled differently. It's a little more lenient on females beating males. It's a little more lenient. The law is a little more lenient on them. I mean, just things like that, right? Where it's like, we see it all the time, but it's like, it's hard to know how it applies to you till it starts happening. And then you're like, fuck, now I get the rules, and this fucking sucks. And a lot of us have multiple minority statuses, and so when that's your reality, it's like, oh my gosh, now I gotta deal with this and that and that and this, all in this space that's for these type of people. And then it's like, I thought I kind of fit in for this reason, now I don't fit in for that reason. And it's like, you just learn as you go. But know your city, know the laws, know the rules, know it's okay, know it's not okay, understand what's happening, know yourself, understand how your body and your mind react to different substances, learn about them, learn about what you can and cannot have on you. These different things are going to help you make decisions when you go out. And if something does come up, you're going to know what to do, because you'll know, oh, can I call an ambulance when I have this situation? Can I call a cop when that thing happens? And then like, oh, I have like crack in my pocket or something. And then, I don't, but I'm just saying, like, if you do get harassed and you're like beaten up and you're like on the street and you have some illicit substances on you, the cops might still come and they might pat you down and they still might take you to jail. So it's like, you got to think about things. It's like, I'm just saying, like, it's fucked up out there. That's all I really have to say. So just be careful if you're using things. I just feel like obligated to say this because it's been coming up a lot in my life with a lot of people with substances and a lot of different dynamics when we see people coming back out from the Rona, out socializing again. People have been through a lot. People are still going through a lot. Like I mentioned multiple times, the stat that I heard about mental health service needs rising up to 500% more than ever before in history. And people still aren't getting the support that they need. I know that for a fact because I work in an environment where people are looking for support and it's not there till next year for some of these people. So people are waiting months to get the support that they need, and different minority groups are being kind of shut out of the support. LGBT people included. There aren't, like, say if you're looking for like a gay therapist, or gay doctor, these things are they don't not exist, but it's a lot more rare. It's going to be a lot more complex to try to find that for yourself. Not impossible, but I just say complex. I mean, please pay attention to the words I use sometimes. I'm not here to like judge. I'm just trying to put out information that can help people stay safe, help people feel comfortable, help people feel supported, and to have like some form of, there are people out there like me or my friends or other people who understand what you're dealing with, at least on some level, to some extent. I mean, we get it, and maybe I don't touch on a lot like every single topic ever, like, there's gonna be stuff I'm gonna miss, but I mean, with the topics I do touch on, I usually try to touch on things that are kind of going on in my personal life, because it's stuff that I notice kind of coming up more and 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 more. And the substance thing, I noticed, like, since things started opening up and I started going out more, I'm noticing, seeing people overdose live in front of you, or seeing people, just like, having experiences happening, friends having experiences with substances, different people, in the environment just having experiences with substances in ways that weren't really happening at the beginning of 2019 or in 2018 at all. And now here we are, late 2021, and I'm seeing all these things coming up. I mean, I'm aware of it. I don't watch TV and all that kind of stuff, but I try to pay attention to how my environments are changing around me. And usually when you guys hear from me, that's because something's been going on. So, a lot of food for thought. I'm going to record the next one because I'm getting hungry and it's getting cold and I got more to say, but I don't want to melt topics together because then it gets real ranty. But I hope this was helpful. I know it's really long. It's over an hour, but thanks for listening.